Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter-Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Westerns and comedy on this Saturday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, with episodes of Frontier Gentleman, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone, Dragnet, Nick Carter, Master Detective, and Love and Abner. That's all straight ahead on this Saturday, 23rd day of March, 82nd day of the year, 83rd day of the year, rather. We have 283 days remaining until we get to 2024. It was on this date in 1775, Patrick Henry delivered his famous speech, "Give me liberty or give me death," at St. John's Church in Richmond, Virginia. In 1806, after traveling through the Louisiana Purchase and reaching the Pacific Ocean, explorers Lewis and Clark and their Corps of Discovery began their arduous journey home. In 1839, the first recorded use of OK as an abbreviation for all correct in the Boston Morning Post. 1857, Elisha Otis's first elevator installed in New York City. In 1868, the University of California, founded in Oakland, and in 1903, the Wright brothers applied for a patent on their invention of one of the first successful airplanes after a lot of hard work. In 1909, Theodore Roosevelt left New York City for a post-presidential safari in Africa, the trip sponsored by the Smithsonian Institute and the National Geographic Society. Pakistan became the first Islamic republic in the world on this date in 1956, and in 1965, Gus Grissom and John Young aboard Gemini 3, the U.S.'s first two-man space flight. It was on this date in 1973, John Lennon was ordered by U.S. immigration to get out.
Under the law, Mr. Fieldstein could not grant him a change of status to a permanent residence, and instead gave him his application, granted his application for voluntary departure, and fixed a period of 60 days by which Mr. Lennon must effect his departure from the United States.
Now, in response, Lennon and Odo held a press conference on the 1st of April of 1973 at the New York City Bar Association, where they announced the formation of the state of Notopia, a place with no land, no boundaries, no passports, only people. Waving the white flag of Notopia, two handkerchiefs tied together, they asked for political asylum in the U.S. The press conference was filmed and would later appear in the 2006 documentary The U.S. vs. John Lennon. Now, Lennon's Mind Games album in 1973 included the track Notopian International Anthem, which composed of 3 seconds of silence. The deportation of Lennon, driven by President Nixon, who would resign a little over a year later. President Ford had no interest in continuing the issue. The deportation overturned. Lennon got his permanent green card. In 1983, President Reagan made his initial proposal to develop technology to intercept enemy missiles. And while it didn't really fly in the U.S., the Iron Shield in Israel continues to function to this date. After 112 days with the first artificial heart, Barney Clark passed away on this date in 1983.
What does it feel like to have an artificial heart in the chest? Do you have pain, or is it uncomfortable?
Not at all. It feels comfortable. The only thing you get used to is, I imagine, is pump.
The noise of the pump?
But you get used to that.
Does that bother you much at sleep?
No, it doesn't bother me at all.
Clark speaking with reporters. In 2001, the Russian Mir space station disposed of, breaking up in the atmosphere before falling into the southern Pacific Ocean near Fiji.
This is a historic moment. It's a bittersweet moment. The Mir can only be thought of as a great success.
Funding brought the end of the Mir's 15-year mission. And it was on this date, 2 years ago today, a container ship run aground and obstructed the Suez Canal for 6 days, and that tore up commerce in that area of the world. Passing away on this date in history, Peter Lorre, Elizabeth Taylor, Joe Garagiola, the baseball player, fine man, Ken Howard, George Segal, Madeleine Albright, all passing away on this date in history. Birthdays include Joan Crawford, the physicist engineer Werner von Braun, 5-time land speed record holder Craig Breedlove, the Cars' Rick Ocasek, and the delightful comedian John Panette, all born on this date.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
And just a few people who are still with us, among them, Shaka Khan. Singer Shaka Khan, 71 years old today. From Felicity and the Americans, Carrie Russell is 48, blogger Perez Hilton is 46, and country singer Brett Eldridge is 38. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 23rd day of March as their birthday, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. And now we're going to go back 66 years to March 23rd, 1958. John Dehner, starring as J.B. Kendall in Frontier Gentlemen. And that's next.
The threat of fire in our homes is always with us. It's a good idea to know how to deal with it. For fire to burn, 3 things are necessary: fuel, heat, and air. Take any one away and no flames. Most small fires can be put out by cooling, dousing them with water, or by smothering, taking the air away. Another method is to get the blaze outside. Take the fuel away by using a broom or other tool. So remember, a fire needs heat, fuel, and air. Take any one away and no fire.
We have a lot of these old civil defense things that came up in we found through some friends, and we're going to bring you all of these that we can. So all sorts of these you're going to hear over the next couple of days. As is our custom, we're going to have 2 shows from March 23rd, 1958. A little later, we will have Luke Slaughter of Tombstone starring Sam Buffington. But right now, John Dehner, fine actor, and a great body of work. This one, Frontier Gentlemen, from 66 years ago, March 23rd, 1958, the story of The Actress.
It's amazing what a man will do to himself over a woman, and still more amazing what a woman will do to herself over a man. This story happened in Virginia City, Montana Territory.
Frontier Gentlemen. Herewith an Englishman's account of life and death in the West. As a reporter for the London Times, he writes his colorful and unusual stories. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories. In just 1 minute, we will bring you this latest report from the Frontier Gentlemen.
What are you stopping here for, Clark? The country club is still a half-mile away.
I know, Scarlett, but I don't want to drive up to the club in this low-priced car.
But the snow is 6 inches deep, and I'm wearing my ballerina slippers.
Well, you'll just have to hoof it, baby. I'm not driving any further. And you're much too big for piggyback.
Oh, the snow is cold.
Take bigger steps.
Oh, that won't help. Why don't you get a big car like a swept-wing Dodge?
A Dodge? I can't afford a big car like that.
Oh, yes, you can. Even though Dodge is a big car, it's priced below 59 different models of the low-priced field.
What? You mean I can own a big swept-wing Dodge for less than I paid for my car?
That's right. And you get all that big car roominess and big car luxury. With a Dodge, you get all the car you're paying for.
Okay, Scarlett. Let's forget the dads, dear, and go see our Dodge dealer.
Oh, wonderful, darling. On these cold feet, who could dance anyway?
Now, starring John Dehner, this is the story of J.B. Kendall, Frontier Gentleman.
Virginia City, Montana Territory, was particularly noted for three things: its gold, Henry Plummer and his band of outlaws, and the vigilantes. The vigilantes disposed of the Plumbers and were replaced by a more lawful authority, so that by the time I arrived, only the gold remained, and of course those who sought it, the miners. They filled the town day and night, spending their hard or easily won money in saloons, gambling houses, and hurdy-gurdy establishments. I was attracted to one of these on the night of my second day in Virginia City. It was a brilliantly lit saloon called Skinner's, and outside was a large sign proclaiming the appearance of Miss Eulalia Robinson. I went inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll give me your attention, kindly refrain from shooting 6 guns in the establishment, because the next man that does it's going to get thrown out on his saddle. With your kind permission, I have the honor in presenting the world-famous actress, Miss Eulalia Robinson. She has appeared before the crowned heads of Europe and honors us with a presence tonight by a special appointment to Her Majesty, the Queen of England. Ladies and gentlemen, Henry Irving's leading lady, Miss Eulalia Robinson. For her first recitation, Miss Robinson will give us a scene from William Shakespeare's play, Romeo and Juliet.
Thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek. For that which thou hast heard me speak tonight, fain would I dwell on form, fain deny what I...
She was in her late 30s, not a good actress, not even beautiful. But her manner, the dignity of carriage, created an illusion of beauty which captivated her audience. She remained on the stage for a solid hour, and by the time she was finished, I could see that every man in that saloon was completely taken by her, and more than one imagined himself to be hopelessly in love.
Now that's what I call a woman. Hey, where you going?
I want to meet her.
Who don't? Hey, partner, wait for me.
Mr. Skinner?
Yeah?
My name is Kendall.
What?
Kendall.
Kendall?
Yes, that's right. I'd like to meet Miss Robinson.
Yeah, you and 100 more. It'll tear the place down.
Now, I'm a correspondent for the London Times, newspaper.
Newspaper man?
Yes.
Sure, come on, duck under here. How'd you like it? That's real culture, huh?
Yeah, she's quite a success.
Yeah, she sure is. What paper did you say you write for?
London Times.
Was that so? Well, Miss Robinson will get a kick out of that, you and her both coming from England.
Yes? Come in.
Oh, that was just fine, Miss Robinson, real fine. Say, this is Mr. Kendall. He writes on the London Times.
Mr. Kendall.
How do you do?
May I present my business associate, Mr. Grimes?
How are you?
Mr. Grimes?
I guess you folks have plenty to talk about. I'll go on back and get the boys quieted down. Virginia City never heard anything like you gave us tonight, Miss Robinson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Skinner.
Not at all. I'll see you later.
Well, won't you sit down, Mr. Kendall?
Oh, wait a minute. Kendall, you got identification or something? Proving you're a correspondent?
Not on me, no.
I don't think it really matters,
Well,
James.
it does to me. You know what I mean, Kendall. Miss Robinson is popular. A lot of fellers like to come busting in and make any excuse, you know what I mean. I gotta watch out for her interests.
I understand.
And she's kind of tired right now. Why don't you let her go till tomorrow?
If you would rather, Miss Robinson?
No, not at all. I'd rather enjoy being interviewed tonight.
And I say it's not a good idea.
You're being extremely rude, James. Perhaps you'd care to take supper with me, Mr. Kendall.
Why, I'd be delighted.
No.
No?
No, she's not going.
I hope you'll forgive him, Mr. Kendall. He thinks that every man who looks at me is thinking dire and dreadful thoughts.
My intentions are completely honorable, Mr. Grimes.
Lately.
I don't want to discuss it anymore, James. Now, both of you, please wait outside. I must change my clothes. I shan't be a moment, Mr. Kendall.
Listen, Kendall. I'm sorry I acted the way I did, but if I don't keep an eye on her, nobody's going to. You know what I mean?
I think so.
I mean, nothing personal, but as her business manager, I've got to take care of things. Now, she gets awful tired traveling around this way. Best thing for her right now is to go back to the hotel and get some sleep.
As a business manager, Mr. Grimes, I should think you'd be happy to have a newspaper interview.
Oh, sure I am. But you know how these actresses are. They're like kids. They don't even know what's good for them.
I hadn't been aware.
Well, take my word for it. So you go on ahead. Now, I'll tell her you see her tomorrow.
Under the circumstances, I'm afraid she'd think it was rather impolite, don't you? Why not wait until she comes out?
All right, we'll make it tonight. A nice quiet supper at the hotel, 3 of us.
Mr. Grimes, I get the distinct impression that for some reason or other you don't want me to be alone with Miss Robinson. Am I right?
I'm her business manager,
so you've said.
And she doesn't talk to anyone unless I'm around.
Strange, I got the impression that she didn't want you around.
I don't care what you think. I'm coming along. If you don't like it, no interview.
There! That didn't take long, did it? Are we ready, Mr. Kendall?
Yes?
Laylee, you're going back to the hotel.
Good night, James. I'll see you in the morning.
We walked down the street to the hotel. She talked about some of her experiences in the territory, rather nervously, I thought, seeming almost deliberately to avoid her background of successes in England. I ordered champagne with dinner, and I could see that rather than making her feel more at ease, the drink only increased her anxiety.
I'm afraid that James was right, Mr. Kendall. I must be tired. The champagne makes me feel quite giddy, but I will have just a tiny drop more.
Of course.
You know, James is very angry with me.
I gathered that.
He's a jealous man. You wouldn't think so, would you? But he is.
I don't think I blame him.
He has no reason to be. We're only business associates. It's not as though we were married or anything. James doesn't believe in marriage. He says it deadens one.
Do you think so?
I don't know. I've never been married. My work hasn't allowed for it.
Did you meet Grimes in England?
Oh, no. No, that was in Boston. He saw me perform and asked to represent my interests.
I see.
Oh, he'll be very angry about this. Me being with you tonight.
May I ask you something?
Please.
Why are you afraid of him?
Afraid? Oh, afraid of James? How utterly ridiculous. Does it show so very clearly?
Yes.
May I have some more champagne? You know I'm not English, don't you?
Yes.
I never played with Henry Irving. Never saw England. Never did any of the things they say I did.
I didn't think so.
By appointment to Her Majesty. James thought that sounded fine. He took it from a bottle of Scotch whiskey. Do you know what I am, Mr. Kendall? I'm a liar. My whole life is a lie. I'm not even a good actress.
I was completely charmed by your performance.
How sweet. How gentlemanly and nice you are. Mr. Kendall, you're terribly attractive. You're the most attractive man I've ever met. No, that's not true. My husband was the most attractive man. You see, I lied about that too.
You are married.
I was. James is always afraid I'll tell someone.
Why?
Well, the marriage didn't end very nicely.
Why do you tell me?
Too much champagne.
I don't think so.
I'm tired, then. I wish I could cry. Do you know, Mr. Kendall, I haven't been able to cry for 3 years. And there are so many tears.
The shots had come from outside. Just for a moment, I saw a shadowy figure at the broken window. Then it was gone in the night. Miss Robinson was lying on the floor. A thin line of blood ran from the corner of her mouth. She was unconscious.
In a moment, we return to Frontier Gentlemen. Today on CBS Radio's Suspense, Vanessa Brown and Jim Amici will co-star in Affair at Loveland Pass, a Western thriller with a psychological twist. Exciting dramas waiting for you, too, on yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Join us on most of these same stations later today as action-packed stories come your way on CBS Radio's Suspense and yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And now we return you to the Anthony Ellis production of Frontier Gentlemen.
I just heard. Who did it?
I'm not sure, Mr. Skinner.
Doctor's on his way. Ought to be here in a few minutes. Oh, she doesn't look good.
I think the bleeding's stopped.
Boys down in the saloon are mad. Word's got around there in a lynching mood. Sheriff's trying to ease them down.
Mr. Skinner, was Mr. Grimes there?
I didn't see him.
I just wondered.
I guess he ought to be told. He's staying down the Nugget Hotel.
Yes, it might be a good idea.
Well, I'll go on down myself. Now, listen, Mr. Kendall. If there's anything she needs, you sing out. Anything at all. One of my boys will be outside. You just say the word.
Right.
I'll be back.
What a strange feeling.
Miss Robinson?
No pain at all. I've always thought there would be.
The doctor's coming.
I don't really mind, you know.
Don't talk.
Funny. I never believed him. He always threatened to do something like this.
Dr. Todd, where's the wound, please?
Oh.
Kindly wait outside, sir.
Yes.
I'm Dave. Skinner told me to wait. What's the doc say?
Nothing yet.
I'd sure like to get my hands on that feller that done it.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of us would.
She's a lady. A fine lady. Not like them hurdy-gurdies around here. It don't matter if one of them stops a piece of lead. She real bad hurt?
Pretty bad.
You figure it was some crazy liquored up son of a gun, don't you?
I don't know if he was drunk or not.
I mean the fellas, we come to see how the lady is.
We don't know yet.
There's more downstairs. We just wanted to know we're going to get the son of a gun that dry gulched her. Doc Todd come yet?
He's in there now.
Well, you give him this. There's $300 or better gold dust than that. You tell Doc he pulls her through, he'll get another like it. The boys wanted to know they're with her.
Sure do.
I'll tell her.
You do that.
I got a couple of dollars. That goes for me, too. Give it to the doc.
I will.
I can't operate yet. She's lost too much blood.
She gonna be all right, huh, Doc?
Don't ask fool questions, boy. I'm not God. Right now, she's asleep. Well, you're Kendall, aren't you?
Yes.
Lucky for her you were around. If she lost any more blood, she'd be dead. Well, you might as well get some shut-eye. I'll stay with her.
I left the hotel and went out into the street. There were 50 or 60 men standing about, quietly, waiting. I told them all that I knew. Then I saw Mr. Skinner hurrying up. He motioned to me, and we walked away from the crowd.
Grimes. Couldn't find him.
Oh?
Hotel clerk said he hadn't seen him all night. Now, I've been thinking. Is there something wrong between these two? I heard arguing this afternoon in her dressing room over at the saloon. I didn't think anything of it then, but with this...
I think we'd better find him, Mr. Skinner.
He did it?
I don't know, but it's possible.
I'll get some of the boys.
No.
What's the matter? You a friend of his? You trying to protect him?
Neither one, but all they need is an excuse. If they even suspect someone, they'll hang him. I prefer things more legal.
He's a killer. We've handled that kind before in Virginia City.
Miss Robinson is not dead. Now, what I suggest is that you talk to some of the men who aren't likely to take matters into their own hands. Tell him we're trying to find Grimes, but he doesn't know what's happened to Miss Robinson. They can bring him back here.
Then what?
We'll let the sheriff handle it.
All right. But I'll tell you, Kendall, if he puts up a fight, I want to be there. It'll be a pleasure to shoot him.
The search began. At first, only a handful, picked by Skinner, knew what they were looking for. But the word spread, and with it, rumor. Grimes was the man. Grimes had done it. In an hour, every man who knew or cared about what had happened was a hunter. The quarry, innocent or guilty, was James Grimes. And it was obvious that if found, he'd have very little chance of standing trial. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, I returned to Miss Robinson's room. Any change, Doctor?
No. They get the fellow that did it?
Not yet.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How come a man would want to kill a woman like this? She's the way I remember a woman should be.
Why don't you get a cup of coffee, Doctor? I'll stay with her until you come back.
I think I will. Stretch my legs a minute.
Turn around, Kendall. Don't move.
You look a little worse for wear, Grimes.
They're after me. They're trying to kill me.
Any reason why they shouldn't?
Is she dead?
No.
I warned her. I've been warning her what had happened.
Put away the gun.
And get myself killed?
You'll be safer with me than the mob outside.
You're the trouble, the reason for everything. It's been men like you everywhere we go. Every town she has to find someone. I warned her. I told her I wasn't going to stand it any longer.
And I heard a different reason.
A different reason? What did she tell you?
About her husband. An unhappy marriage.
She said that? Told you about her husband?
Yes.
You want to know what really happened? She had a husband, all right. In Boston. I didn't know it at the time. I met her. I fell in love. She went away with me. After we were married, she told me.
She is your wife?
Surprising? Look at her. It's another one of her little ways. She thinks it's better if people don't know. She thinks I don't know why she wants it that way. I guess you could say we killed her husband. He committed suicide after she left him. Oh, you don't know. You don't know what it's been like. But I told her what I'd do if she went after another man.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter anymore. I hope she dies. Then I won't have to feel these things.
If she dies, they'll hang you.
Yeah.
James?
Lily. I'm sorry, Laylee.
Such a jealous boy. I never meant anything.
Don't, Laylee.
I like to flirt. That's all. A woman likes to flirt. It doesn't mean anything. Mr. Kendall knows that.
Can't you stop acting? Even now, can't you stop?
Listen to him, Mr. Kendall. Has he been telling you what a terrible woman I am? I suppose it's true. But you're not much of a man, James.
Laylee.
You don't have to listen to this, Grimes.
Kill her.
Come outside.
Kill
no,
her.
No, you don't. Give me the gun. Give me the gun.
Laylee. Laylee.
She's dead.
Give me my gun.
I can't. You'll get a trial. Perhaps they'll understand.
There'll be no trial.
Now, Grimes, come back. Grimes! I think I was rather glad I hadn't stopped Grimes when he went through the window. They killed him. But in this case, perhaps it was better than a public trial and hanging. Miss Eulalia Robinson and James Grimes were buried side by side in Virginia City, Montana Territory.
Frontier Gentlemen was written, produced, and directed by Anthony Ellis and stars John Dehner as J.B. Kendall. Featured in the cast were Jeanette Nolan, Larry Dobkin, Harry Bartell, Jack Moyles, and Jim Nusser. Music was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Now stay tuned for the Ford Road Show, to be followed by the CBS News over most of these same stations. Join us again next week for another report from the Frontier Gentlemen. John Wall speaking. This is the CBS Radio Network.
A fine show, Frontier Gentlemen was. It would be ended by another fine show, also helmed by John Dehner, Have Gun Will Travel, the radio adaptation of the TV show. From 58 years ago, March 23rd, 1958, Frontier Gentlemen. Quick look at the news of this date, 66 years ago, in a moment.
Everyone in the United States should know his community's public action signals and what they mean. There are two signals. The alert signal is a steady blast of 3 to 5 minutes. It means attack is probable. Take action as directed by your local authorities. Tune your radio to the Conelrad frequency of 640 or 1240 for official instructions and information. The take cover signal is a wavering tone or short blast for 3 minutes. It means attack is imminent. Take cover in the best available shelter. Be prepared. Know these signals and what they mean.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we'll have a look at the news headlines from 66 years ago today, March 23rd, 1958, before we get to our second of shows from that date, and that will be another Western, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone. But first, the headlines. Nikolai Bulganin may be ousted as Russian premier next week in the continuing battle for power in the Soviet Union. Usually reliable diplomatic sources are reporting that his removal would increase the already great authority concentrated in the hands of Nikita Khrushchev, the first secretary of the Communist Party. There was speculation Khrushchev will take over the premiership. The late Joseph Stalin held both posts at the time of his death in 1953. Officials saw signs Saturday of some success in the West's stand against Soviet pressure to hold a quick, showy, ill-prepared summit conference. They said Russia's instant summit propaganda appears to be losing its appeal in the face of Western insistence on laying the groundwork for a meeting that could lead to results. Further, according to the Western officials, they said the Russians seem to be moderating their high-pressure drive for a summit meeting by June. The rebel Padang radio claimed today 2 revolutionary government planes bombed the Indonesian central government summer capital of Bandung, the first reported attack on the home island of Java. Tension building up in the big American oil and rubber centers of Parkabru and Medan in Sumatra, and 3 U.S. warships stood by at Singapore, a few hours sailing time away to evacuate Americans if necessary. Senators Mansfield and Bridges, the Democrat of Montana and the Republican from New Hampshire, announced they will offer a bill Monday to retain the present services of the setup of the Military Joint Chiefs of Staff. Mansfield, the assistant Democrat leader, said in an interview the objective of this bipartisan move is to put President Eisenhower and Secretary of Defense McElroy on notice of what we believe is the sense of Congress in this matter. The Atomic Energy Commission said Saturday the Russians had tested another nuclear weapon in the past 3 days and the 6th in the past 9 days. The commission said the latest Russian detonation at the usual test site in Siberia appeared to have been in the medium range. Famed producer Mike Todd perished in flames early Saturday with 3 others in the crash of his twin-engine plane, the Liz, named for his actress wife, Elizabeth Taylor. The executive-type plane plunged with tremendous force, exploded and burned in the Zuni Mountains of western New Mexico, southwest around 2 o'clock in the morning in a storm. One who died was a movie writer, Art Cohen, who was working on the story, The First 9 Lives of Mike Todd. The secretary for the colorful and flamboyant 50-year-old producer of Around the World in 80 Days said in Los Angeles that Todd, the 49-year-old Cohen, pilot Bill Vernier, 45, and co-pilot 34-year-old Tom Barkley definitely were aboard. He saw them off at Burbank at 10:41 Friday evening. But officers who made their way to the remote crash site around 20 air miles southwest of the uranium mine mill town of Grants, New Mexico, said they could recover only what appeared to be parts of 3 bodies. Conditions of the bodies made positive identification at least temporarily impossible. Miss Taylor did not accompany them on the flight. 10 hours before he died in the plane crash, Todd sat in his plush MGM studio office attempting to locate companions for his fatal flight. Feet propped up on his desk, Todd telephoned producer Joseph Mankiewicz, and Mankiewicz begged off and preserved his life. Todd also called actor Kirk Douglas, who said he couldn't make it either. Another crash, Captain Edmund V. Ferry nursed a crippled Air Force plane over a suburban housing development and crashed into a muddy open field near Sacramento on Saturday. The big radar ship from McClellan Air Force Base burst into flames, but all 18 crewmen escaped. 4 were injured, including the 41-year-old Ferry, though his spine was broken. And those some of the day's top news stories, as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, March 23, 1958. Coming up next here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox from that same date, 66 years ago, the only starring vehicle for character actor Sam Buffington, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone.
Power failure, doing without gas or electric service, is something we've all experienced at one time or another. But in time of disaster due to natural causes or enemy attack, we might have to do without such service for a long time. With refrigerated foods, this can be serious. If power is out for more than 12 hours, eat or cook the most perishable items in your refrigerator before they spoil. If you can't cook them, throw them out. Persons who own freezers should consult their service books. Remember, when power fails, keep your refrigerators and freezers closed.
Another radio show that came along too late was this short-run show starring Sam Buffington, fine character actor who took his own life far too young. He wasn't even 30. Luke Slaughter of Tombstone. This program from 66 years ago, March 23rd, 1958, entitled The Homesteaders.
Slaughter's my name. Luke Slaughter. Cattle's my business. It's a tough business. It's big business. I've got a big stake in it. And there's no man west of the Rio Grande big enough to take it from me.
Luke Slaughter of Tombstone. Luke Slaughter of Tombstone, Civil War cavalryman turned Arizona cattleman. Across the territory, from Yuma to Fort Defiance, from Flagstaff to the Huachucas and below the border through Chihuahua and Sonora, his name was respected or feared, depending on which side of the law you were on. Man of vision, man of legend, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone.
Get used to all kinds of people in Tombstone. Miners from above and below the border. Cowboys, legitimate and illegitimate. Chinese who cook your meals or your shirts. All kinds. But one afternoon, Wichita and I spotted a new brand.
Say, will you look at that dude with the white hair and goatee? If he ain't the high mucky-muck of something, I miss my guess.
Looks more to me like a traveling preacher.
Yeah, but the other ain't no deacon from his looks.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
I wonder if you could give us a direction, sir. I'm not too familiar in these parts, and let me introduce myself. I'm Colonel Everett. This is my business associate, Mr. Granby.
Howdy. Howdy. Slaughter's my name. This is Wichita.
Howdy.
What is it you're looking for, Colonel?
Well, we're heading for the Meeker place. I believe it's just outside of Tombstone somewhere.
That's right. Cal Meeker's spread's about 3 miles north. The Lazy M. You can't miss it.
Thank you. Thank you for your courtesy, sir.
Not at all. Oh, Mr. Granby.
Yeah?
Haven't we met somewhere before?
Met? No, I don't guess so, mister. It's the first time I've ever been in Arizona.
Well, now, I haven't spent all my life here either. I'd swear we'd met someplace.
Well, thank you for the directions, Mr. Slaughter. We'll get along to Lazy M. Come on, Granby. So, that's the way of it, Mr. Meeker. I'm sorry.
No, wait a minute, Colonel Everett. This is my land. I homesteaded it. Got my title straight from the government. You don't listen very good, Meeker. The colonel told you he's got the original grant on this land, dated way back in 52, before you ever saw Arizona.
That's right, sir. My title's all official and registered.
But Mexico sold this land to the U.S. in 53. And the United States honored all prior claims.
Right so, Granby. Now, I am ordering you to get off my property in 2 days, Meeker. And I'm giving you a choice.
A choice?
Drive your cattle off this spread within 2 days, or leave them, and I'll give you $5 a head for them.
$5? Why, that's robbery. And what if I refuse?
Then we'll have to drive them off ourselves. That's your choice.
Choice? Get off my ranch and stay off, both of you.
Put away that gun, Meeker.
Get going, I said. Get going around.
Granby.
Okay, Colonel. Get back or I'll shoot. Oh, no, you won't. Oh, drop the gun. Oh, drop it. You might hurt somebody.
He don't think we mean business, Granby. Show him. Yeah, that'll give you a rough idea, Meeker. I'd suggest you start moving off this land now. We're taking over day after tomorrow.
Now, Cal, let me get this straight. The colonel claims he has an old Mexican grant to your land?
That's right, Luke. Signed by Santa Anna himself, he said. And not just my spread, either. He claims all the land out my way.
Wonder why he'd wait all these years to claim it.
Golly. Well, ain't there something you can do, Luke?
I don't know. It's a fact the government did recognize prior claims when they bought this territory from Mexico. So if his grant's on the level...
You know this'd ruin me. All of us up there, Luke.
I know. Where's this colonel located?
He told me he's got a land office in Bisbee.
All right, then. Wichita, you and I'll take a little ride down to Bisbee to see what we can find out. And you, Cal,
Luke.
Go back to your spread and don't do anything until you hear from me. This may all be on the level, but every time I think of that business associate of the colonel's, I wonder.
Hey, there's the place, Luke. See the shingle?
Yeah. Land Office, Colonel Justin Everett.
Real pretty name.
Seems to me that shack was vacant a month ago. You wait here, Wichita. I won't be long.
Right, Luke.
Yes, sir. What can I... Well, we meet again. Mr. Slaughter, isn't it?
That's right, Colonel.
Well, what brings you down to Bisbee, sir? In the market for some land?
Like the Lazy M Ranch?
Well, now, that tract won't be available for a couple of days, but we can talk about it now.
Yeah, I think now's the best time to talk about it. Cal Meeker's a friend of mine, Colonel, and a member of the Cattlemen's Association. He tells me you're laying claim to his spread.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Suppose you tell me all about it.
Well, I don't know why I should, Mr. Slaughter. This is a private matter between Meeker and me.
I'm the head of the Cattlemen's Association up at Tombstone. Anything that affects the members interests me. Now, let's hear about it.
Well, all very simple, sir. I hold a permanent grant on the land up there, signed by Santa Anna himself. It was a gift of my father, sir, who did some favors.
That land is United States territory now.
I'm aware of that.
You've had your claim certified?
Of course I have. The document's been verified and declared legal by your own Judge Harris in Tombstone.
Oh? When?
Not more than a month ago.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to take a look at that paper, too, if you don't mind.
I do mind, sir. This is none of your business.
I just got back from Tombstone, Colonel. The judge said... Slaughter, what are you doing here?
El Paso. You ever live in El Paso, Granby?
You still trying to make out you know me? No, I never lived in El Paso.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I must be mistaken. Thanks for the information, Colonel.
Information?
Yeah.
You sure you never got fouled up with that man, Granby? Because if you did and he remembered...
I swear, Colonel, I never saw him before in my life.
All right. I just hope he never saw you.
Yes?
Morning, Judge.
Well, Luke Slaughter, what can I do for you?
Oh, nothing special. Just dropped by for a chat.
Come in.
Thank you. You know, I haven't talked to you since you lived in that little house up on Safford Street. It's quite a fancy layout you've got now.
Well, thanks, Slaughter. I like it.
I don't see how you can swing it on a judge's salary.
Oh, well, you see, a relative of mine died in Kansas City. Left me some money. Yes, sir. Quite a lot of money.
Oh. When'd you buy this place?
Why, it was just a month ago, next Monday.
I see. Judge, I wonder if you could give me a little information on a land deal.
What kind of land deal?
A fellow named Everett, Colonel Everett, claims he has a Mexican grant on a lot of property around here.
Oh, Colonel Everett, yes. Say, that was a surprise to me, too. Yes, sir, quite a surprise. I had no idea such a grant existed.
He tells me you certified the title. Is that right?
Oh, yes. I went into it very thoroughly. Studied the grant, checked Santa Anna's signature, and didn't leave a stone unturned. No, sir, not a stone.
Well, I certainly hope so, Judge. I wouldn't want to see you mixed up in a crooked deal.
Crooked? Why, what do you mean by that?
Well, I haven't seen the grant myself, but... well, somehow it's got an unpleasant smell to it. For your own good, you better have another look at that paper.
Now, Slaughter, if you question my integrity...
I never have, Judge, and I'm sure I won't have to now. You know, it's quite a coincidence, that relative of yours dying in Kansas City exactly the same time Colonel Everett came to Arizona.
Now, see here, sir.
Just a coincidence, I'm sure, Judge.
That's it, boys. Get those cattle moving and keep them moving till they're clear off the place. Hey, what is this? What are you doing with my cattle, Granby? Well, I figured you'd be showing up, Meeker. Stop those men. They can't drive my herd off like that. They won't. If you want to take the colonel's offer of $5 a head... This is my ranch, and these are my cattle. They may be your cattle, but this is no longer your ranch. All right, keep moving, boys. Come on, keep moving.
In a moment, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone returns. Last September, Carmen Basilio defeated Sugar Ray Robinson for the World Middleweight Championship. Tuesday night in Chicago, they'll meet for the return match, and you'll hear the broadcast only on CBS Radio. Right at ringside will be Jack Dries, giving you a blow-by-blow account of the fight. Dr. Joyce Brothers, the young psychologist from Brooklyn, who set the nation on its ear with her amazing knowledge of boxing, will provide the between-rounds commentary. Join us on most of these stations Tuesday night as CBS Radio broadcasts exclusive the exciting rematch between Carmen Basilio and Sugar Ray Robinson. And now, Act Two of William N. Robeson's production of Luke Slaughter of Tombstone.
Hey, Luke, you gotta come help me.
Well, sure, Cal. What's the trouble?
That Colonel Everett.
Well, what about him?
His men are driving my cattle off.
How many men has he got, Cal?
Granby and three others. They're driving my herd toward the east line.
All right. Keep your shirt on. We'll get your herd back if we have to make the colonel drive him back himself.
Yeah, they are, Luke. They're driving them right down that arroyo.
Pull up here. They'll be scattered all over the territory. I'll lose half my herd.
Forget the cattle. We'll get the men first. Cal, you ride around that butte and come in on them from the other side when I signal you.
All right, Luke.
All right, Wichita. We'll move in from this side.
Yeah, I'm right with you, Luke.
Hold it. It's close enough.
Well, if this is the colonel's land, we're the ones breaking the law.
First things first. We'll worry about the law later.
Look, there's Cal, waiting for your signal.
All right, then. Here we go. So that's the way he wants it.
I got one of them, but he's sticking on his horse.
Hold your fire. They're making a break for it.
Yeah, I guess they ain't wanting any more of it, Luke.
Looks that way. Think you and Cal can get the herd back on the Lazy M all right, Wichita?
Why, sure we can, but where are you going?
I'm making a fast trip to Bisbee. Now I know the Colonel's playing for keeps. It's time for a showdown.
Hey, Colonel. Don't bother me, Granby. I'm figuring.
Slaughter's out front.
Who? Slaughter? He didn't waste any time getting down from Tombstone.
Hello, Colonel.
You got your nerve coming in here, Slaughter. You wounded one of my men when he was doing his legal duty.
Legal duty? He was a rustler.
What do you want?
Well, I figured maybe we could stop any further violence around here if I had a look at that grant of yours.
Get out of here, Slaughter.
Tell your friend to keep his hand away from his holster, Colonel. You don't want your office messed up, do you? Tell him.
He's got a right to defend himself.
Yeah, sure he has. Go ahead, Granby. Defend yourself. Go ahead. Draw. I thought so. Now, Colonel, the deed.
I don't have to show it to you, Slaughter.
That's right, but you're going to.
There. You're so curious. Have a look.
Pretty document. Mighty fancy engraving.
Just as legal as it is pretty. Might help if you could read Spanish.
Well, it just so happens I can. Dated September 11th, 1852. Signed by... Say, this fellow really took a liking to himself, didn't he? His Most Serene Highness Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, perpetual dictator of Mexico.
You'll notice the grant is perpetual, too.
I noticed that. Hope it's more perpetual than Santa Anna was. Yes, sir. That's mighty pretty engraving.
Well, you satisfied, Slaughter?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed I am. I've seen all I need to, for now. And now that I've seen it, Colonel, I'm sure our next meeting will be under much different circumstances.
Well, I certainly hope so, sir.
Good day, gentlemen.
Slaughter, you must be out of your mind demanding I issue an order for the arrest of Colonel Everett and Mr. Granby.
I repeat, Judge, I want them brought up from Bisbee and held without bail. Oh, and by the way, be sure and subpoena that deed of the Colonel's.
But I can't issue an order for their arrest. There's no charge against them.
Listen, Judge, I guess I've read as much law as you have. You want charges? I'll give you a few. Fraud, intimidation, cattle rustling. You want any more? I'll sign the complaint.
But you don't understand, Slaughter. You'd have to have evidence.
I'll produce the evidence at the proper time. In court.
I can't do it. No, sir, I just can't.
Maybe you'd rather be a defendant in this case, Judge.
You better be able to prove your charges in court.
You'd be surprised what I can prove. See you in court, Judge.
Court will come to order. Luke Slaughter, being the complaining party in behalf of the Cattlemen's Association, he gets first say. Go ahead, Slaughter.
Give it to him good, Counselor.
Quiet, Wichita. Thank you, Judge. Now, these men are being tried on a charge of fraud. We'll forget a few other charges.
This is preposterous. He can't prove a thing. The judge knows that.
Could we have a little order in the court, Your Honor? Thank you. Now, if it please the court, I have in my hand the Mexican land grant by which Colonel Everett's claiming land around here. If it wasn't for just two things, he'd be in his rights. First of all, this grant is dated September 1st, 1852. That date looked kind of odd to me some way, so I looked it up. Now, it just happens that in September of 52, Santa Anna, who was supposed to have signed this deed, was in exile in South America. He didn't become president of Mexico until more than 6 months later, April 15th, 1853. So he couldn't very well give away land when he wasn't even in office, could he?
Order! Order!
Now, that's one thing. There's another. The first day I saw Colonel Everett's business associate, Mr. Granby, I had a feeling I'd met him someplace before. The thought kept nagging at me. Then when I saw this document, I put two and two together and the whole thing came to me. I was wrong. I hadn't met Mr. Granby at all. I'd just seen his picture a while back on the wall of a marshal's office back in Abilene, Texas.
What? Why you...
It's no wonder this document looks so pretty. Mr. Granby is an expert at making things like this. He's wanted by the United States government for forgery and counterfeiting.
That's a lie!
Now, there's one more way I'm going to prove this case. By Judge Harris himself. The judge can tell you a few things about these men that'll prove their guilt. Can't you, Judge?
Well, when the Colonel and Mr. Granby first approached me...
I'll teach you to keep your mouth shut, Harris.
Luke, Granby's got a deputy's gun.
Get down behind that desk, Judge.
Keep away from me, Slaughter.
I'll fix you so's everybody will keep away from you.
Now!
See, he doesn't get away again. All right. Come on out, Judge. Let's have some order here.
Yes. Yes, all right.
I don't think we need to carry this farce any further. Judge, you ready to make your decision?
Yes, yes. I find these two men guilty as charged. They will be brought to this court tomorrow morning for sentencing. This court is adjourned.
Well, say, that was real nice work, Luke. Why, you saved the judge's life.
Yeah, I guess I did. You go ahead, Wichita. I'll be along in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I guess that takes care of everything, Slaughter.
Almost. There's just one thing more. How soon are you leaving town, Judge?
What? Why, I'm not leaving.
I say you are. We like our courts to be honest around here. I'm afraid you don't quite fit the bill.
Yeah, I guess I did make a mistake, Slaughter.
Maybe you can profit by it in the next place you go. There's a stage out of here tomorrow afternoon. See that you're on it. So long, Judge. Good luck.
Luke Slaughter of Tombstone, starring Sam Buffington, was written by Don Clark, with editorial supervision by Tom Hanley, and directed by William N. Robeson. Supporting Mr. Buffington were John McIntyre, Jim McCallion, Bill Quinn, Junius Matthews, and Ed Jerome. Music composed by Wilbur Hatch and conducted by Amerigo Marino. Next week at this time, we return with...
Slaughter's the name. Luke Slaughter. When we meet up again, you can call me that. Luke Slaughter.
Butcher, baker, candlestick maker, lawyer, bricklayer. No matter what your work is, the course of American business from day to day affects you in 100 ways. Beginning tomorrow and right through the week, follow our business news reports on most of these stations with Walter Cronkite and Bill Downs doing the reporting. Now stay tuned for Frontier Gentlemen, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Perhaps the show's biggest issue is that it was an early afternoon show and did not get the clearance. Many stations were running religious programming or musical programming at that time. But it was a good show. Luke Slaughter of Tombstone, 66 years ago, March 23rd, 1958. Another show that successfully made the transition from radio to TV comes up next. An episode of Dragnet starring Jack Webb and the Big Mustache from 70 years ago.
No one knows when disaster might strike. It could come in the form of hurricane, flood, blizzard, or fire, or by enemy attack. So it's wise to be prepared for any emergency. It's wise to take a Red Cross first aid or home nursing course. At least one member of each family should know how to take care of an injured person. Remember, in time of disaster, doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel will be difficult, if not impossible, to find. So take a Red Cross first aid or home nursing course now.
You may wonder why so many of the shows you listen to from the late 50s, such as Frontier Gentlemen and Luke Slaughter of Tombstone, only ran 25 minutes. And there's a solid reason that they did. These shows that were unsponsored were cut 5 minutes short to make room for sponsored 5-minute shows like the Ford Road Show, sponsored, of course, by Ford Motor Company. And they would basically consist of a single song and a Ford commercial. And newscasts that were also very much sponsored of the day. Alrighty, we're going to go back 70 years this hour on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Dragnet starring Jack Webb. This episode entitled The Big Mustache, and it was originally broadcast March 23rd, 1954.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Dragnet is brought to you by Chesterfield, made by Liggett & Myers, first major tobacco company to bring you a complete line of quality cigarettes.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. A supermarket in your city has been robbed. The thief wore a disguise. You don't know who he is or what he looks like. Your job? Find him. Today, friends, you hear these 3 words everywhere. Chesterfield's for me. The Chesterfield you smoke today is the best cigarette ever made. Best for you, because Chesterfield gives you proof of highest quality, low nicotine. The taste you want, the mildness you want. Chesterfield is best for you because it's tested and approved by 30 years of scientific tobacco research. Chesterfield is best for you because it has an established good record with smokers, proven by test after test. Yes, friends, the Chesterfield you smoke today is the best cigarette ever made. For the taste you want, the mildness you want. Join the thousands now changing to Chesterfield. Always say, Chesterfield's for me.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, August 13th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Chief of Detectives Thad Brown. My name's Friday. I was on my way into the office, and it was 7:58 a.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery. Morning, Frank. You been in long?
About 10 minutes.
Gonna be a hot one today, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the paper says.
Anything in the book?
No.
How about those mugs? They come in from Barton?
Yeah, I put them in your box.
Thank you. Did you take a look at them? Hey, Frank.
What?
I said, did you see the mugs?
Oh, no.
All right. What's the matter?
Fay?
What happened?
Joe, you know me. You know how I feel about Fay. So you gotta know I didn't mean anything by it.
You didn't mean anything?
Certainly not. It's the farthest thing from my mind.
What was?
What she thought I meant. You know, Joe, sometimes I think Fay just don't understand me.
Well, I don't understand you either on this one.
Oh, that's right. You weren't there.
No.
Sort of got to thinking to myself you were. You know how a guy does.
Uh-huh.
I got to thinking to myself, and I got a problem. You kind of think your old buddy knows all about it.
Yeah.
So I got to fill you in. I'll tell you all about it.
Right now?
Yeah. You see, after dinner last night, we had those Swedish meatballs that Fay makes so good.
The what?
Meatballs. Swedish ones.
Oh, yeah, I know. I had those out there.
Yeah, wonderful.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, after dinner last night, we went in the living room, sat down to watch the television.
Mm-hmm.
I switched on the set, and I kind of arranged the pillows and settled back. And a couple of minutes later, Fay comes in with a box. One of those big flat ones like dresses come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
She bought a new dress. Joe, that's why she fixed the meatballs.
I don't know how this is going to end, but up to here, I must be on Fay's side, I guess.
You are?
Well, I don't understand any of it.
Oh, well, I'll straighten that out. You see, whenever she wants me to go along with something she's already done, she always makes Swedish meatballs.
Well, I could figure that part out. What was in the box?
A dress, Joe. She bought a dress.
Oh, it was a dress?
Yeah. She opened up the box. She shows it to me. Told me how she bought it on sale.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever notice how every time a woman buys a dress, it's always on sale?
No, I can't say as I ever have.
Well, believe me, buddy, it always is.
On sale?
On sale.
I don't want you to go through the whole day with this on your mind, but if you don't get to the point, it'll be time for us to sign out. And then we can talk about it.
Well, I didn't mean anything by it. Nothing. She held the dress up for me to see, and all I did, I just said, what size is it? You know how you do.
Mm-hmm. Want to look at these mug shots now?
No, wait a minute. I want to finish. You asked me what I was mad about. I wanted to tell you. I asked her what size the dress was. She told me it was a 12. A 12.
A 12?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of casually mentioned that when we got married, she wore a 9. That's all I said, that she wore a 9.
Want to look at the mug shots now?
No, wait a minute. Will you help me with this thing? It's the use of being partners. If you can't help a little, we'll look at the mug shots. When we were married, she wore a 9. And she just flipped her wig, Joe. She got real mad. Walked out of the room. Right out of the room.
Yeah.
I guess she thought I meant she was getting fat.
Yeah, I guess she did.
Boy, she was mad.
Mm-hmm. Hot shot, I'll get it. Let's go. Corner of Grandview and Union.
Yeah?
Hold up. By the time we got to the supermarket, a broadcast carrying the description of the suspect had been gotten out to all cars in the city. A small crowd of people had gathered in front of the store, and the officers from the radio unit were attempting to keep them back from the entrance. An ambulance had been called, and when we got there, the attendants were giving emergency treatment to the day manager of the store. He'd been struck on the left side of the head just above the ear by the suspect when he'd made his getaway. The attendant told us that the man was suffering from a mild concussion. Frank and I entered the store and talked to one of the policemen who was there. He led us back to a small office in the rear of the place where we met the other two victims. One was the cashier of the store, Irma Watson. The other was the man who had the meat concession in the store, Tom Spence. We asked him to tell us what happened.
First thing I saw of him was when I parked my car out in the lot. The guy was standing right beside the door.
That's right, just standing there, calm as could be. I saw him when I opened up the place.
Mm-hmm. You want to go ahead?
Well, I unlocked the door and we all came in. The man did too, just walked right in.
We don't normally let people come in 4-8, hardly ever. But since Gerald was there, we figured he could take care of the man.
You mean Gerald's the man in the ambulance?
Yeah, that's right. Hold-up fella gave him an awful clout on the head. Gave him concussion to the head.
Tell you something about that, too.
What's that, Miss Watson?
I don't really think Gerald's hit that hard. I think he's just putting on to get sympathy.
Now, Irma, that ain't right. Not good to say things like that.
Maybe not, but I tell you, you remember the time he cut his finger when he was moving the cases of empty soda pop bottles?
Yeah?
Well, you were there, had to rush him to the hospital, have his hand sewn up. A lot of foolishness, piece of adhesive would have taken care of it. Sympathy, that's what he wants.
Can we go on with what we were talking about? What happened after you came in the store, please?
Well, I went upstairs and I turned on the lights.
Have to turn them on from up there. Officers up there.
That's where I worked.
Mm-hmm.
Turned on the lights, then come down to open the safe.
Is that your job, to open the safe in the morning?
Yeah.
And she's a cashier.
Yes, sir. What happened then?
Well, Gerald was going out back to open the delivery door. I was over in the meat section, kind of straightening up.
Where was the hold-up man during this time?
We were just kind of strolling around, looking at the different displays up and down the aisles, just looking.
Gerald opened up the back door and come back. Asked the fella if there's something special he's looking for.
Well?
Guy said he wanted to know where the fella at the anchovies was. Gerald told him. Fella went back to get some.
That's what Gerald thought, but we know different now.
Yeah, a lot different.
All right, would you go on, please?
Well, I was upstairs counting the receipts from yesterday, getting the bank statement ready.
Irma's the cashier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
Would you go on, please?
Well, first thing I know, the man's standing right behind me, holding this gun pointed right at me. You can just bet he like to scared me out of my wits.
Must have been terrible, Irma.
It was. I just turned around, and there he was with this gun, just about scared me to death.
That's when he asked you for the money, did he?
He didn't ask. He just told me to put it in a wooden box he had. Just put it in the box.
What did he say? What were his exact words?
Well, he just kind of walked over and said, "Put the money in the box and don't cause no trouble. This is a stick-up." Like that, he said it.
Irma did just what he said.
Yes, sir. I gave him the money, dumped it all in the box, just like he said. Then he told me to lay down on the floor. Just told me to lay down and not to make any noise or he'd come back and kill me. I think he'd have done it, too.
I think he would have, Irma.
That's why I did what he said, flat on the floor.
Did he have the box when he came in?
Yeah, I had it under his arm.
I was down behind the meat counter, and all of a sudden I heard this scream.
That was me.
Yes, ma'am.
I let out a yell, and Tom here heard it.
And so did Gerald. We kind of looked at each other, and then I grabbed a meat cleaver and started up the stairs. I didn't know what was wrong, but I did know Irma was in trouble.
I appreciate that, Tom.
And I knew you were in trouble, and I came running. Got the stairs, come up the office, and then I saw him. He was just coming down.
He still had the gun, did he?
Yeah, had the gun in the box. I didn't know what was in it at that time, but I had an idea. I just hefted the cleaver and started up the stairs. He stopped when he saw me. Stopped right in his tracks.
Tom's awful brave.
Yes, ma'am.
So he told me to get out of his way or else he'd kill me. The way he was pointing that gun around, kind of believed him. So I backed down the stairs and him right behind me. All the time he had that gun pointed at me.
Where was the manager all this time?
You mean Gerald?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was upstairs.
No, I saw him. He was down by the cash register in front. He saw this guy coming down the stairs, and he ran for the phone to call the police. The fella saw him, and he took off after Gerald. I thought he was going to shoot him, but he didn't. Just hit him. Give him a concussion to the head.
He's after sympathy, that's all.
Oh, now, Irma, you're wrong. I seen it. He gave Gerald an awful hit, right along here. Real hard.
Now, which way did the man go after he left the store, please?
He ran down that way, down Union.
Uh-huh. Now, will you describe the man for us?
Well, he was about
the
5
funniest
feet
looking
6,
fella
and he
I
was
ever saw.
It'd be a little better if you told us one at a time, huh?
I guess you'd never get it that way.
Be a little difficult, sir, yeah.
You go ahead, Irma.
Well, I told the other policeman he was about the funniest looking little man I ever saw. Real little.
Oh, not really. I think he just kind of hunched over.
Well, he looked little.
About how tall was he?
Oh, about 5'8", maybe 9.
Guess that's about right. Tell him about the way he was dressed.
Oh, yeah. Had on this black overcoat and a hat, all pulled down over his eyes. The hat, I mean.
What color was his hair, do you remember?
Well, what I could see of it was kind of blonde, light-colored.
Yeah, that's right, and he had a mustache.
Yeah, real big. Looked like the old-fashioned kind, like people wore when I was a kid. You know, handlebar, black.
Real black.
Mm-hmm. When he left the store, did you notice if he got into a car?
Yeah, he did. I saw him run down the street and jump in one, a dark color. I'm not sure what kind it was. I think it might have been a Hudson, late model.
I saw that. I was looking out the side window upstairs, and I saw the same thing.
Did you tell the other officers about it?
Well, I didn't.
And neither did I.
I guess we better get out a broadcast on it.
Yeah. Did you happen to get the license number of the car?
Yeah, that's where I went to work. I've got it written down right here on my apron. See? Numbers ain't too plain, but you can make them out.
No, sir, I can't. You'll have to help me there.
I got it, too. Right here. I saw him get in the car, and I wrote it down.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Thank you.
Having the number of the car is going to make it easier to catch a fella, ain't it?
We should make it a snap to find out who owns the car, and that's the man.
Well, it's not going to be that easy, I'm afraid.
What?
Both numbers are different. A supplemental broadcast was gotten out carrying both the license numbers that the victims had gotten. Frank put in a call to DMV asking them to forward all information on the numbers. The crime lab crew came out and went over the place for fingerprints, but they were not able to turn up anything that we could use. We continued to question the butcher and the cashier. We got a complete description of the thief. The one outstanding thing that both of them agreed on was the mustache. Both said that it was a direct contrast to the color of the man's hair, and said that it might have been darkened with shoe polish or some kind of grease. People in the vicinity were questioned, but none of them were able to supply us with any new information. The injured manager was removed to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital for emergency treatment and then referred to his own doctor. Frank and I talked to him, but he only verified the story that we'd gotten from the other two people in the store. 12:45 p.m. We returned to the city hall and asked the stats office to start a run on the MO for us. The victims were asked to go through the mug books, but they were not able to identify any of the photographs. Frank and I spent the rest of the day talking to the other storekeepers in the vicinity of the robbery. We asked each of them if they'd seen anyone loitering in the area, anyone who looked suspicious. From each of them, we got the same answer. None of them could help us in establishing the identity of the suspect. The kickback on the license number came in from Sacramento, but when we checked out the information, we were no closer to apprehending the thief. The next morning, Thursday, August 14th, Frank and I met in the squad room.
Hi, Joe.
Morning.
How's my old buddy this morning?
I'm all right. You sound happy. The problem with Faye straightened out?
Oh, yeah, sure. Got home last night. Everything's great.
Is that right?
Hey, we started last night.
What's that?
Faye and me, we're going on a diet. Both going to lose a little weight.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, lose a little weight. Anything new in the market holdup?
No, the stats office should finish the run for us this morning. We can start checking out the possibles.
Yeah, it's a good thing I wore my walking shoes, huh?
I get it. Robbery Friday. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's right. No, that's all right. We'd like to hear it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. All right, we'll be out and see you. No, right away. All right, thank you very much. Bye.
What do you got?
Cashier out at the market, that Irma Watson.
Yeah?
Might have something for us.
What's that?
Well, she says she thinks she knows who the suspect is. Frank and I drove out to the market. We went upstairs to the office in the rear of the store and met Irma Watson. She was seated at a desk with a large ledger book opened in front of her.
I got to thinking it over last night after I got home about the hold-up man.
Yes, ma'am?
There was something about him, the way he acted and talked, made me think I knew who he was, that I'd seen him someplace before.
Uh-huh.
I laid awake most of the night just thinking about it. Then all of a sudden it came to me. Right out of the air, it came to me.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Well, I knew where it was that I thought I knew him from.
Where, ma'am?
Right here in the store.
You mean he's a customer?
No, he works for us, right here in the store. That's where I've seen him. That mustache kind of fooled me for a minute, but not for long. I remembered.
What's the man's name?
I didn't remember that.
Oh, let's see.
Not last night, but I came down here this morning and started through the books and came upon it. Got it right here. Take a look for yourself. See? Right there.
That's Jed Ellsworth?
That's him, I'm sure of it.
Does Ellsworth work here now?
Well, yes and no.
Ma'am?
Well, he does and he doesn't. He's still got the job, but he ain't working right now. Got a leave of absence. He's got ulcers. Said he wanted to get them taken care of. Said he had to go out of town and see a specialist, get his ulcers fixed.
I see. When did he leave?
Last week. See, I got it right here. Last day he worked was Wednesday, August 6th. That was the last day.
Do you have his home address?
You just bet. Got it right here. Wrote all the information out for you.
Thank you very much.
It's him. I'm sure of it.
All right, Miss Watson, we'll check into it.
Only thing I can't figure out is that mustache.
What's that?
The mustache. I can't figure out how he could have grown it so fast. Takes longer than a week to get a mustache like that, doesn't it?
Well, it depends, doesn't it?
On what?
Where you buy it. Frank and I returned to the office to run the name Jed Ellsworth through the record bureau. While Frank went through the packages, checking the description we'd gotten of the suspect, I went down to the stats office and picked up the list of possibles that they had for us. 10:26 a.m. I met Frank back at the R&I counter. Hi, how's it going?
Well, looks like we got a live one. Got a Jed Ellsworth here, pretty close to the description.
Yeah.
Record in the East, St. Louis. Done big time back there, nothing locally, though.
What did he fall for?
Armed robbery.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Meet the Tom Harmons. You know Tom as Michigan's All-American football star, now a top sports announcer. Mrs. Harmon is the motion picture and television star Elise Knox. They're typical of people everywhere who are saying, Chesterfields for me.
I like regular-sized Chesterfields. Have for years. They're best for me, at least I think so, because of that Chesterfield quality.
That's the way I feel about them, too. I've always smoked Chesterfields. Now I go for the king size. Guess I like a longer smoke.
So whether you smoke regular size like Elise Knox or king size like Tom Harmon, enjoy America's most popular two-way cigarette. Chesterfields for me. You hear it everywhere. The Chesterfield you smoke today is the best cigarette ever made. For the taste you want, the mildness you want, join the thousands now changing to Chesterfield.
We sent an immediate request to the authorities in St. Louis asking that they forward all available information on their suspect, Jed Ellsworth. 1:15 p.m., Frank and I drove out to the address we'd been given by the cashier at the supermarket. It was a one-story redwood house in the Beverly Glen area. We rang the front doorbell.
Yes?
We'd like to see Jed Ellsworth.
He's not here.
Well, do you know where we can reach him?
What's this about? He in trouble again?
Ma'am?
Jed in trouble again?
We'd like to talk to him, please.
You cops?
Or police officers.
Uh-huh. Figures. What's he done this time?
Well, it's just routine. We want to ask him a couple of questions. Where is he?
I don't know.
Well, he lives here, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know where he is. Haven't seen him since day before yesterday. He's packed up and left. I don't know where he went.
Well, didn't he give you any idea where he was going?
None. Went through my purse, took what money I had, and shoved off. Don't much matter to me if I never see him again, but I'd probably be better off.
Wonder if we could see his things.
You mean when he left?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Come on in. They're in his room. I'm about to throw him out. I don't want him, and I don't think he'll be back for him this time. Down the hall, this way.
Thank you, ma'am.
What are you after him for?
It'll be a little better if we talk to him, ma'am.
Sure. Don't matter to me. I'm through with him. Nothing but trouble with cops since we've been married. I didn't know he had a record when I met him. It wasn't until after we got married I found out he was a jailbird. Right after we got married, the cops started coming around asking questions.
How long have you been married?
18 months. Met him back in St. Louis. Must have been right after he got out of jail. I didn't know it then. Wished I did. Wouldn't have nothing to do with him. Giving me nothing but trouble.
Would you know if he has any people in California?
That I ever saw. He never talked about him.
Does he drive a car?
Jed?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he didn't own one. Whenever he needed one, he'd go to one of these rental agencies, rent one. This is his room. Stuff's there on the bed.
Thank you. I'll check it.
I'm going to throw it all out. Anything there you want, just take it with you.
I don't think that'll be necessary.
Well, the offer's still good. What you don't take, I'll throw out.
Your husband got any close friends at all in town?
Yeah, a couple other bums.
You give us their names?
Only one name I know, Larry Jessup. Him and Jed used to pal around all the time. I think his job at the store took up too much pal time. That's the reason Jed quit.
I understand your husband had trouble with his stomach, is that right?
Yeah, ulcer.
Was he under the care of a doctor?
Uh-huh. All the time taking pills and eating special things. Got to the point where nothing I cooked was right for the ulcer. We did nothing but fight all the time. Miserable 18 months. I'm glad he's gone. Never see him again. It'll be a week too soon.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us the doctor's name?
Yeah, it's on one of the bills there. Got it in with the rest of them. Reminds me, can you answer me something?
Well, what's that?
Am I responsible for his bills, the ones he ran of himself without my help? I got to pay him?
Well, ma'am, that's not a police problem. You better check with a lawyer on that.
A lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
More expense. Seems like all I do is put out money for him. Boy, I'm glad he's gone.
Do you have a picture of him?
You mean like a snapshot?
Yes, ma'am.
No, Jed wouldn't let nobody take pictures of him. Said it was bad luck.
Mm-hmm. He had a mustache, didn't he?
That's inside him.
Miss Ellsworth,
Yeah?
you know what's on these dictograph records?
Oh, those are mine. I'm a stenographer. Sometimes I do work at home. Those are mine.
Oh.
Just letters. It's the one thing he ever did for me.
What's that?
Made that box for records. Real big thing. Took him all day to make it. Just a plain, simple wooden box. You'd have thought it was a Taj Mahal. Only thing he ever did for me.
I see. Your husband get many phone calls here?
No, not that you'd notice. Larry'd call once in a while. I told you they was real pally.
Yes, ma'am. Did you ever hear any of the conversations by any chance?
Just on this end.
You know what they were talking about?
Not too good. They used to get real secret. You know, low voices. They were planning something, though. I don't know what it was, but they were planning something.
Well, this fellow Jessup, he drive a car?
Yeah.
You know what kind?
Yeah. New Hudson.
We got the address of the suspect's friend, and we drove back to the city hall. We made arrangements for a stakeout to be placed on the house, in addition to asking Mrs. Ellsworth to call us in the event that she heard from her husband. We ran the name Lawrence Jessup through R&I, and we came up with a criminal record for him. It listed several arrests for burglary and auto theft. According to his package, he'd never been convicted in California. We sent a teletype up to George Brereton, CII in Sacramento, asking for further information on the man. 4:50 p.m. Frank and I left the office and drove out to the address given us by the suspect's wife. It was a large boarding house in the Hollywood Hills area. We talked to the landlady. She told us Jessup wasn't in, but that she expected him by 6 p.m. We asked if she'd ever seen a man answering Jed Ellsworth's description. She said that such a man was a frequent visitor in Jessup's room. 5 p.m. Frank and I, in the company of the landlady, checked the room. We found nothing to tie Jessup in with a robbery. We waited for him. 5:58 p.m. He came up the stairs and opened the door.
What are you guys doing here?
Police officers. This is Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
I still want to know what you're doing here.
Got a couple of questions we want to ask you, Jessup.
Go ahead. I got nothing to hide. Ask.
Where's Jed Ellsworth?
I don't know. I haven't seen him in a couple of days. Why?
Understand you two are pretty good friends.
We're friends. The guy's off his rocker.
How do you mean that?
What I said. He only got out of the can a couple of years ago. Right away, he's doing his best to get back in.
That right?
Sure. A couple of days ago, he called. Said he had to see me right away. Had a big idea for both of us. Make a lot of money.
Yeah?
Well, I don't want to have to work all my life, so I told him I'd listen. He laid out this big deal where he could knock off a supermarket. Told me he had it all planned, how'd it all work out real good. Couldn't miss.
Mm-hmm.
I told him I didn't want no part of it. I could sure use the dough, yeah, but not to take a chance on going to jail for it. I already got a record. I had enough to do with cops to last me the rest of my life. Been lucky the last couple of times. It didn't fall, but I don't want to press. I'm punching a clock now, and that's the way it's going to be. I told him that.
Did he say he was going to go ahead with the job?
No, I just said I was crazy not to pick up some easy money.
You heard from him since then?
Yeah, I saw him yesterday. He came over in the morning. Told me to forget all about the market job. Said he realized it was wrong. Asked me to drive him out to Pomona.
What for, did he say?
Yeah, he said he'd walked out on Hazel. That's his wife.
Yeah, we know.
Said he left her and was going to Pomona, had a job out there.
You drive him?
Yeah, to a motel there. I can show it to you if you want.
Is he still there?
I don't know. As far as I know, he is. That's where I left him, sitting out there counting his money.
What money?
He told me he drew all the dough out of his and Hazel's account. Said she wasn't going to get any of it. Must have had about $4,000.
Uh-huh. You know what bank he had the money in?
No, he didn't say. I didn't know him and Hazel had that much. Of course, she works pretty hard. Thrifty, you know. Jed always said she was stingy. A lot of money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, had it in this wooden box, all stacked in there, real neat. Hard to believe.
What's that?
About the box. Jed's about the laziest guy I ever knew. Last one to work with his hands. Sure proud of it, though. Said he made the box himself.
Larry, Jessup, Frank, and I drove out to the motel in Pomona. We checked with the manager, but found that the suspect had checked out that morning. Fortunately, the room had not been cleaned yet, and we went over it. On a shelf in a closet, we found the wooden box that Jessup had spoken of. It was a duplicate of the one that we'd seen at the suspect's home. We told the manager we were taking it with us and asked her to notify us in the event Ellsworth returned. We asked if he had a car when he left. The manager told us he didn't, but that he had asked for the name of some automobile rental agencies in Pomona. Jessup and I went out to our car and waited for Frank to come back from the suspect's room.
Sure looks like he pulled a robbery, huh?
It seems to fit him real good, doesn't it?
Joe?
Yeah.
Look at this. Found it under the bed.
Phony black mustache.
We checked with the automobile rental agencies in the area. None of them had seen a man answering the suspect's description. We asked them to call us if such a man did come in. We drove by Ellsworth's house and picked up the wooden box that he'd made for his wife's dictograph records. Both of the containers were taken to the crime lab for comparison. We drove to the market that had been held up. All three of the victims were shown the false mustache that we'd found in the motel. All three said it was identical with the one that the holdup man had worn. After his investigation, Lee Jones said that the two wooden boxes were cut from the same piece of 3-ply wood. Paint particles on the wood matched. The nails used were made by the same machine. The box we'd found at the motel was shown to both the butcher and the cashier. They said that it was the same one that the thief had carried. A local and an APB were put out on the suspect, asking that he be picked up for suspicion of robbery. For the next 3 days, the surveillance on the suspect's house was maintained. All of Mrs. Ellsworth's activities were observed. Sunday, August 17th, we got a call that the suspect's wife had left the house carrying a suitcase. The officers on stakeout followed her to the subway terminal in downtown Los Angeles. We met them there. Mrs. Ellsworth walked down to the landing and appeared to be waiting. Frank and I took over the surveillance. We waited. 9:30 p.m. 10. 10:15. 10:18 p.m.
Joe?
Yeah, I see him.
Looks like the description, huh?
Yeah, he's going toward his wife. Right, let's let them get together.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's him. Come on. He sees us.
Jed, the cops, get out of here.
Come on, Frank. Go. All right, Ellsworth, hold it up. Police officers. Come on, drop the gun, Ellsworth. You're not going to get out of here. All right, let's give it back to him. He's down. Come on, Frank. He's hurt. Yeah.
I'll get an ambulance.
Right.
He dead. Did you kill him?
No, we've sent for an ambulance.
I didn't want him to get hurt. I didn't want him to get hurt.
Why didn't you call us when you heard from him?
I don't know. He said if I met him, he'd give me some money so I could pay the bills we owed. He was going to give me some money. I was going to call you after I got the money. I was going to call.
Yeah, sure you were.
It's a chance to get out from under, get even. He didn't care when we were together. I was the one who worried about it. He never cared. He never paid a bill.
Don't worry, he's going to pay this one.
The story you've just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 17th, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. You know, the Chesterfield you smoked today is the best cigarette ever made, and best for you. Now, that's a fact. And to my way of thinking, it's the very reason for you to change to Chesterfield. Try 'em either way, regular or king size. If you try 'em, I think you'll say with all of us, Chesterfield's for me.
Jed Warren Ellsworth was tried and convicted of robbery in the first degree and received sentence as prescribed by law. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of from 5 years to life. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Ralph Moody, June Whitley. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely different Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspapers for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Filter tip smokers, this is it. L&M Filters, the one filter tip cigarette with plenty of good taste, much more flavor, much less nicotine, and effective filtration. Only the L&M filter contains the miracle product alpha cellulose, the purest material for filtering cigarette smoke. Yes, this is it. As Helen Hayes puts it, L&M filters are just what the doctor ordered. Buy L&M Filters, the distinguished monogram cigarette. L&M Filters, America's highest quality and best filter tip cigarette.
From 70 years ago, March 23rd, 1954, Jack Webb in Dragnet here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Tomorrow, a couple of very interesting shows, a couple of hour-long shows. We'll have an episode of the Royal Gelatin Hour starring Rudy Valley with his guest Bob Hope. This goes back to 1937. Also an episode of the Lux Radio Theater, Remember the Night, starring Fred McMurray and Barbara Stanwyck. And we'll wrap the whole thing up with an episode of Claudia. That's all coming up on our next Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on Sunday. Coming up next, though, an episode of Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Your automobile may save your life during a national emergency. It can move you out of the target area, provide shelter, communications, and carry supplies. Keep your car in good shape at all times.
By the way, I want to remind you, civil defense information you hear on this show, documentation of a lot of that can be found at the webpage, civildefensemuseum.com, civildefensemuseum.com. Learn more. And you might save your life by getting information there. Alrighty, Nick Carter, Master Detective. Up next from Mutual from 76 years ago, March 23rd, 1947, in the case of the Crystal Prophecy.
Old Dutch Cleanser, famous for chasing dirt, presents Nick Carter, famous for chasing crime. Every week at this time, two great names are joined as Old Dutch Cleanser brings you one of the most resourceful and daring characters in all detective fiction, Nick Carter, Master Detective.
But, Nick, how do you know it couldn't have been suicide?
The evidence shows it, Patsy.
But the windows were locked on the inside. No one went through the door. If it was murder, how was it done?
The same evidence, Patsy. The bottle tells how and why it was murder.
Now for the case of the Crystal Prophecy. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by Old Dutch Cleanser. Our story begins in Nick's office about 10 o'clock one bright, sunny spring morning.
Well, I'll be darned.
What is it, Patsy?
Nick, I'm following the latest records on suicides, and they show that during the past 6 weeks, 4 women have committed suicide.
Oh, what's so curious about that?
Well, each of these women was in her middle 30s. Each was a widow with quite a bit of money, and in each case, the police couldn't find a single clue to the reason for the suicides.
When was the last one?
Night before last. Mrs. Doris Manson. Nick, don't you think there might be some connection between these suicides?
Maybe. Certainly looks like a lot of coincidence if there isn't.
That's what I thought. Are we going to do anything about it?
We are. We're going to finish the report I'm working on, and then we're going down to talk to Matty about this epidemic of suicides.
afternoon, Hassan. I hope I'm not late.
Please to enter, Mem Sahib. You are expected.
I get more excited every time I come here. Is Rashid El Bey ready to receive me?
Mem Sahib will please to sit there. I go tell Master.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Langdon. It is well that you arrived.
Oh, I couldn't be late to see you, Master. I do so want to hear more.
And what you have heard has pleased you?
Oh, yes. Everything has happened just as you said it would. Just after I left you the other day, I dropped my purse and a man picked it up for me. It was a man named Robert Winter, just as you said it would be.
This Robert Winter, he pleased you?
Oh, yes. He's a perfect gentleman and so handsome. I think that he's romantically inclined, and I thought perhaps...
I understand, madam. Please to draw near and look into the crystal. Do not allow your attention to wander for an instant. O ball of ever-knowing light, bring to your surface the truth about Robert Winter and Martha Langdon. Make the future clear that we may read it. The ball begins to clear. A picture is forming. I see. No, it cannot be.
Huh?
Oh, ball of crystal, are you sure?
Oh, what's the matter, El Bey?
I am sorry, madam. I cannot tell you what the crystal ball has shown to be the future for you. It is better that you remain in ignorance.
No. If there's anything bad, I demand that you tell me.
The crystal ball shows, madam, that you will shortly take your own life.
Oh, but that's absurd. I have no reason to do away with myself.
I am sorry. I am only the instrument through which the pictures are made clear.
Well, but now that I know about it, isn't there any way the future can be changed?
It is difficult, madam. Very difficult.
Oh, I'll do anything. Anything. Can't you help me?
It is possible, madam.
How?
It is a long and difficult process. It will mean that I must deny myself to all my other disciples. Much time will be lost. Much money will be lost.
Oh, I have money. I'll give you money.
To take a great deal of money, madam. I shall have to devote all my time to watching over you until the danger is past.
How much would that be?
It would be $100,000.
Oh, no. I can't pay that much.
It is well known that Madame wears pearls worth that amount.
Give up my pearls?
Pearls mean nothing, Madame, when the owner is dead.
No. I have enough willpower to keep from killing myself. And if necessary, I can hire somebody to watch me day and night for much less than $100,000.
As you wish, Madame. But it would not be wise
I won't pay that much to anybody for something I should be able to do myself. No, thank you.
As you please, Madame. Good day. And may I wish you everything that fortune will bring you.
You know as well as I do, Nick, that suicides run in waves.
I know, that's true, Matty. But it seems to me that there's too much coincidence in these four. Each of them is too much like the other.
Oh, that's crazy, Nick. The first one drove her car off a cliff. The next jumped off a building. The third fixed herself up in a closed garage with a car motor running. And this last one jumps in front of a subway train.
But, Matty, did you notice that each of these suicides was a woman in her middle 30s, a widow, and that each had a considerable amount of money?
Sure, I know all that, but what's it prove? Now, look, Nick, my squad investigated every one of these deaths, and we didn't find anything but suicide.
Okay, Matty, okay.
Ah, Nick, you're getting all hot and bothered about something that's just a coincidence. And that's all.
Robert, how nice. Come in.
Hello, Martha, my dear. I hurried over as soon as I got your phone call. What's wrong?
It's Rashid El Bey. He told me the most awful thing.
Really? I've known him for a long time. Never heard of him saying anything that didn't come true.
Does everything really come true?
Indeed it does. I'll never forget poor Doris Manson. He told her that she was going to take her own life.
And did she?
Yes, poor thing. She was standing on a subway platform one day when the train came along. She jumped in front of it.
Oh, how horrible. Robert, El Bay told me that I was going to kill myself.
Oh, that's terrible. Isn't there anything we can do?
El Bay said that he could do something about it, but it would cost me $100,000. I told him I couldn't afford to pay that much.
Not when your life is in the balance?
No. I can't believe I'm going to commit suicide.
I've never known El Bay to be wrong. I think it would be better for you to pay him, Martha.
I'm not going to do it.
Very well, my dear. You know you can count on me for any help you need.
Oh, thank you, Robert. I know I can.
You know, how about a glass of your fine port? It'll do us both good.
Oh, I think that's an excellent idea.
I'll get it. I must say I admire your courage, my dear.
Oh, I'm not brave. I just won't part with all my money for something I don't think will happen.
Well, the wine will make you feel better. Wine always helps. And now, Martha, to your health and long life.
Hello?
Hello, Martha. This is Camellia Huntington. I just called to see if you'd received my invitation.
Yes, it's lying here in front of me.
I just know you're going to enjoy Rashid El Bay. He's such an interesting person.
Yes, he is.
But whatever's the matter, my dear? You sound as though you don't like El Bay.
Oh, it isn't that, Camellia. It's just that he told me something very unpleasant.
He did? Whatever was it?
I'd rather not discuss it, Camellia.
Oh, look, Martha, why don't you try him again? Perhaps he's looked into his crystal again and has seen something for the better.
Do you think there's a chance?
I most certainly do. Think about it, dear. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow at my party. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Camellia. And thanks. Try him again. Yes, I'll do it. Oh, why didn't I think of that before? Oh, I'm sure he's seen something else.
Yes?
Is this Hassan?
Yes. Who speaks, please?
This is Mrs. Langdon. I've got to speak to El Bay right away.
One moment, Mentayib. Good evening, Mrs. Langdon.
Oh, I just had to call you, El Bay. I wondered if you would look into your crystal ball again, see if it said the same thing.
I have looked many times, madame. The pictures have not changed.
Oh.
The span of your life is growing short.
Oh, no.
I beg of you to reconsider before it is too late.
Well, I won't reconsider paying you $100,000 if that's what you mean.
Alas, then, what is written will be so. I am sorry, madame. The sands of your life run out rapidly.
Oh, I never should have called him in the first place. It scares me so. Perhaps I'd feel better if I drank a glass of wine. Now, maybe this will lift me out of this terrible mood. I certainly hope so. What? It was awfully nice of you to pick me up this morning, Nick.
It's all right, Patsy. I just happened to be going by. Oh, switch on the radio, will you? Police band?
Sure. Oh, gosh, it's a beautiful morning.
Car 18, go to Hemlock and Third, reported burglary. Car 43, go to 54th and 9th Avenue. Traffic light out of
Oh,
order.
what a charming radio personality.
Cars 256 and 257 get to 1485 North End Avenue. Assist Sergeant Madison and Homicide Squad in suicide on premises. That is all.
Nick, you don't suppose that could be
I
another...
don't know, Patsy, but I think we'll find out. We can be there in less than 5 minutes. Well, Matty, what's the verdict this time?
Oh, I don't know, Nick. I just got here myself. Only had time to find out that this is the same kind of case as the ones we were talking about.
What? You mean the one who committed suicide was a woman?
Yeah.
In her 30s and wealthy?
That's right, Patsy.
I suppose
we go in and take a look. Yeah, sure, Nick. She's right in here, in the library.
Right.
Well, there she is. The late Martha Langdon.
Say, the cause of death was cyanide, judging by the smell.
Yeah, I noticed the bitter almond smell, too.
Did she leave a note, Sergeant?
Not that I've been able to find.
She didn't leave a note, Patsy. But it looks as if she tried to leave us a message.
Yeah. What do you mean? I don't see anything.
Oh, look, Matty, in her hand.
Oh, I've already looked at that. It's nothing but an invitation to some swank tea party coming off this afternoon.
Well, let me see. Mrs. Camille Huntington requests the pleasure of your presence at an afternoon tea in honor of Rashid L. Bey, noted analyst of the outpost, so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, what makes you think that means anything, Nick?
Well, how does she happen to be holding it in her hand when she died?
Well, she could have picked it up before she knocked herself off.
No, I don't think so, Matty. It wouldn't be easy to open a bottle, pour out a drink, and hold on to a card like this at the same time. She must have put it down before she poured herself the fatal drink.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
So she must have made a superhuman effort to pick it up again. Remember, cyanide acts almost instantaneously. No. I think Mrs. Langdon picked this up with the hope that it would lead us to her murderer.
Yeah.
Murder?
What's that?
That's right. Martha Langdon was murdered.
But how, Nick? The windows are locked, and the maid says no one's been here all day. The dame drinks poison, and you say she was murdered?
I do, Matty. Smell this bottle of wine.
Huh? Say.
Yes. The bottle has cyanide in it, too.
Oh.
And no one is going to commit suicide by drinking cyanide poisons the whole bottle. They only put the poison in the glass. No, Matty. Martha Langdon was murdered.
Now back to the case of the Crystal Prophecy. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by Old Dutch Cleanser. As we pick up our story, Nick and Matty are talking to Robert Winter, who says he hurried over to Martha Langdon's home as soon as he heard of her death.
Mr. Winter, do you know anything about this tea Mrs. Camellia Huntington is giving this afternoon?
Why, yes, I'm attending the party myself.
Well, can you think of any reason why Mrs. Langdon should have picked up this invitation in her dying moments?
No, I can't. It'll probably be a very dull affair.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Winter.
Quite all right. I only hope you're able to catch Martha's murderer. Goodbye.
Oh, Mr. Winter.
Yes?
Did you happen to know Mrs. Nora Church?
Why, yes.
And Mrs. Doris Manson?
Yes, I did.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Thank you very much.
Nick, do you suspect Mr. Winter?
I don't know.
Of course, those spats he wears are enough to make me suspicious of him.
Spats aren't evidence, Betsy. But the fact that Mr. Winter knew at least two of the other dead women is interesting, at least. And the fact that he's going to Mrs. Huntington's party this afternoon also interests me.
You think all those other women were murdered, too?
I'm positive, Betsy. Proving it is going to be something else. Oh, come on.
Where to, Nick?
I want you to go home and get prettied up. You and I are going to that tea this afternoon. Well, quite a party, isn't it?
Nick, you haven't explained how you happen to know Mrs. Huntington so well.
Oh, I've known her a long time, Betsy.
Apparently. When we showed up at the door, she acted as though you were a long-lost relative.
All right. I'll confess. It's very simple. I recovered some jewels for her some years ago.
Oh.
Looks as if I'm not going to make good on my promise to Matty.
Huh?
Told him I'd keep an eye on Winter, but he seems to have disappeared in the crowd.
Well, nobody can get out of this room without passing us.
Yeah, that's right.
Your attention, please, Effendi.
Oh, something's going to happen, Nick.
Yeah.
Effendi, it is the time for the appearance of my master, the master, Rashid El Bey.
Oh, Nick, isn't that a beautiful beard El Bey has? And what a gorgeous costume.
Yes, that is quite a costume.
Good afternoon, my friends. I am much pleased that you have gathered here to do me honor. I will say no more than tell you it is impossible for me to read my crystal ball before all of you. But I shall be happy to conduct individual readings in a room which our charming hostess has made available. I will retire now to that room.
Come on, Patsy.
Where, Nick? You're not going to have your fortune told, are you?
No, we're going back to the office.
Oh, good. You can drop me off at the beauty parlor.
Sorry, you'll have to cancel your appointment.
Oh, but Nick, this beauty parlor is supposed to take years off a girl's face.
Patsy, we're going back to the office, and I'm going to add years to a girl's face.
Huh?
And that girl is you. There you are, Patsy.
Oh, I hope I don't look as funny as I feel.
You don't. Your makeup's fine. You look at least 35.
That's the worst compliment I ever had.
Now, Patsy, remember, whatever happens, I want you to play along. And when you enter the master's presence tonight, don't forget whom you're supposed to be.
I won't, Nick. Well, here I go.
Good luck. And don't worry. I'll be around somewhere.
Yes?
I'd like to see Rashid El Bey, please. I'm Mrs. Andrew Waller.
Please to come in.
Thank you.
Mem Sahib will leave purse and hat here. Then she will wait in crystal room.
All right.
Come, please. Please to be seated here. I go now. Tell master.
Thank you.
You are Mrs. Andrew Waller, who has come to seek advice from the all-seeing crystal. You are the holder of driver's license number 74592, issued in this city 18 days ago. Your original home was in Brightwood.
Why, that's wonderful.
It is wonderful only because through this power given to me, I am able to give help to those who come here to seek the answers to those things which they cannot know.
Then maybe you can help me. It's very important.
Very well, madame. Please to draw near. Look into the crystal.
Do not allow your attention to waver for an instant. O ball of ever-knowing light, bring to your surface the future of the one who seeks the answers to questions as yet unknown. The world begins to clear. Picture is forming. I can see you, madame. You are wondering about a man. The man is nearly 35 years of age. He is over 6 feet tall, good-looking. He's engaged in a very dangerous occupation. His name is Nick Carter.
Well, it looks as though Nick's plan to have Patsy disguise herself as an older woman and gather evidence in Rashid El Bey's apartment has backfired. In a moment, we'll hear the conclusion of this adventure. Now back to the conclusion of the case of the Crystal Prophecy. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by Old Dutch Clincher. As we return to the story, Rashid El Bey says,
If you move, I shall be forced to use this gun.
Oh.
You are very foolish to come here, my dear young spy.
How did you know who I was?
A very regrettable mistake on your part. You were careful to place forged documents in your purse, but you also left the real one in it. Your appointment at the beauty parlor in your real name.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And now I find it necessary to dispose of you.
But you wouldn't dare. You know that Nick will get you for it if it's the last thing he does.
If Nick Carter tries to get me, it will be the last thing he ever does. I am much too skilled in the art of having people commit suicide to be caught by a mere detective, even a detective of Mr. Carter's reputation.
Then you did kill those women.
Of course, my dear.
Why? What have they done to you?
They were stubborn. They refused to pay to keep from committing suicide. So they did kill themselves, as I arranged.
Oh.
Hassan! Hassan!
Yes, master.
What kept you?
I was in the rear, master.
Take this girl out to the car. I will join you. Miss Boyne is going to commit suicide.
You're making a mistake. Nick knows all about you and what you're doing.
I doubt that. But even so, it will do no good. You are on your way to your grave.
Oh, no.
Hassan, take her away.
Nick.
You know what to do, Hassan.
Yes, master.
Go away.
I am going
Bet that's the first time you ever rang that gong with your head.
Oh, Nick, is that you?
It is.
Oh, golly, I thought you were Hassan.
That's what you're supposed to think. Now, I'll just rip off the master's false whiskers so that when Sergeant Madison gets here, he can book him for murder under his real name, Robert Winter.
Oh, I tell you, Sergeant, I was never so glad to hear Nick's voice. But it was certainly queer to hear it coming from the man I thought was Hassan.
Yeah. How'd you do it, Nick?
I told Patsy I'd stick close to her, Matty. It was the only way I could manage it. Well, I got into the apartment, knocked out Hassan, and did a quick change so I could pass for him.
Well, you certainly look like the real thing to me. I thought you were going to take me out and boil me in oil.
Oh, Patsy, you know I wouldn't do that to you.
Oh, Nick. Tell me, how did you know that L. Bay and Robert Winter were the same man?
Well, you were partly responsible for that.
Huh? I was?
Yes. Don't you remember you said his spats were enough to convict him as far as you were concerned?
Yes.
Well, they did convict him.
Huh?
When the fake L. Bay appeared at Mrs. Huntington's party, he made the mistake of wearing his spats under his robe. I caught a glimpse of him.
Well, I'll be darned.
And, of course, Mrs. Langdon gave us a lot of help by grabbing up that invitation when she knew she was dying. Thus calling attention to the party where I could find L. Bay and his spats.
So Robert Winter would advise these women to consult L. Bay, and then as L. Bay, he would tell them they were going to commit suicide unless they paid him off.
That's right. If they paid, they were all right. But if they refused...
He killed them as a lesson to the others, huh, Nick?
That's right, Matty. Well, that proves that no one should ever believe the things that are seen in a crystal ball.
Well, Nick, how about a few advance hints about the adventure Old Dutch Cleanser's going to bring us next week?
Well, Bob, before I tell you about next week's adventure, I want to remind our listeners that the Red Cross is carrying on in peace just as in war. In any disaster, flood, tornado, hurricane, or epidemic, you'll find the Red Cross on hand with shelter, food, clothing, and medical care. But this is just part of the story of the activities of the Red Cross, so it's no wonder that the Red Cross needs funds. And I want to urge everyone to give, and to give generously, to the Red Cross.
And I'm sure they will, Nick.
So am I. But now, Nick, about next week's adventure.
Okay, Bob, I'll give you a few highlights. A man telephoned me, greatly excited about a discovery he just made.
And before Nick could get any details, the man had hung up.
Which made me curious. And from then on, we got mixed up with red pencil lines in a phone book, a list of perfume shops,
a junkyard, a trip to sea in a crowded barge, and a...
Whoops, Patsy.
Huh?
Save something for next week.
What do you call the story, Nick?
I call it The Case of the Smuggled Perfume.
Nick Carter, Master Detective, is presented each week at this time and over these same stations by the Cudahy Packing Company, makers of Old Dutch Cleanser. Remember, when you go shopping tomorrow, get the cleanser preferred by more women in America than any other. Old Dutch Cleanser. Nick Carter, Master Detective, produced and directed by Jock McGregor, is copyrighted by Street & Smith Publications, Incorporated. Lon Clark is starred as Nick, with Charlotte Manson featured as Patsy. Matty is played by Ed Latimer. Today's script was written by Charles Stubblefield. Original music is played by George Wright. This program is fictional, and any resemblance to actual persons living or dead is purely coincidental. This is Bob Martin saying, when minutes count, use Old Dutch Cleanser. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
From 76 years ago, March 23rd, 1947, Nick Carter, Master Detective. There you go. Tomorrow on the show, Rudy Valley's Royal Gelatin Hour from 1937, the Lux Radio Theater from 1940, and an episode of the soap opera Claudia. But right now, we'll head to Pine Ridge, Arkansas, and see if anybody's going to jail in Pine Ridge. Could it be Lum? Could it be Abner? Could it be Cedric? Could it be Mousy Gray? We'll see.
During a national emergency, you may have to be your own fireman. Take the first step now. Remove all fire hazards in your home. Eliminate clutter. Store flammables in a safe place.
One of the things I say all the time, when seconds count, help is just minutes away. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, let's head to Pine Ridge, Arkansas, see what's going on with Lum and Abner. This episode, originally broadcast 82 years ago, March 23rd, 1942.
The makers of Alka-Seltzer bring you Lum and Abner. Say, ladies, you probably don't think that a mere man can tell you anything that can make your annual job of spring house cleaning easier and less of a chore. But I think I can, and I'll tell you how. Now, this year, before you start your cleaning, make sure that you have a package of Alka-Seltzer tablets in your home. Alka-Seltzer can be a big help to you because it offers such fast relief for the muscular aches and pains and the headachy, upset feeling that frequently follow an unusually hard day's work. I say, once you've seen how Alka-Seltzer can ease the misery of tired, aching muscles and that headachy, upset feeling, you'll never want to keep house again without it. And ladies, remember when friend husband comes home from work with muscles that are stiff and sore, Alka-Seltzer can help him too. So don't put it off any longer. Get a package of effervescent Alka-Seltzer tablets from your druggist right away. The sooner the better. And now, let's see what's going on down in Pine Ridge. Well, things look dark indeed for the old fellows. Lum caught Abner and Cedric in the feed room the other night printing money on Diogenes Smith's printing press. He convinced them that they were not turning out $10 bills by virtue of some magic power, but were actually making counterfeit money. After he sent Abner home to destroy the money he'd hidden there, the stranger, Mr. Adams, appeared on the scene and arrested Lum as the head of a big counterfeiting ring. As we look in on the little community today, we find Lum, who is out on bail, and Abner in the Jot 'em Down store discussing their sad predicament. Listen.
Oh, me. Why did I ever do it? Why? I'll be a disgrace to Elizabeth, a little pearl, just as sure as the world.
Oh, for goodness sakes, Abner, stop moaning.
Oh, me.
You ain't got no troubles compared to me.
How?
Here I am, the leader of a big counterfeiting ring. At least that's what I'm accused of, and you ain't even been arrested.
No, but I will be, Lum. Just as quick as that mail order house gets that letter me and Cedric sent him, I'm a goner.
Yeah, that's right. He'll get you sure as the world.
Oh, yeah. Why did I ever send that in? Why?
Well, you ought to knowed better, Abner. Anybody with a speck of common sense would have knowed that was counterfeit money you and Cedric was making on Diogenes' printing press.
Well, it looked awful real to me, Lum. It had me fooled.
Well, you're old enough, feller, to know that it ain't possible to make money that easy. To get something for nothing.
No.
At least there ain't no honest way to do it. And even when you do it unhonest, you still got to pay for what you're getting in.
Now, Lum, don't give me no lectures now. I've told myself all that 100 times, and it just makes me feel terrible.
Well, it ought to.
You don't reckon there's some way we could get that letter back, do you?
Oh, of course not. It's too late now.
Yeah, well, maybe if we got a awful fast airplane and flied to the mail order house, why, a airplane could beat the train, and that's what the letter was sent on, a train.
Listen, Abner, it's too late. They've already got your letter.
Doggers, if I could just get to that mail order house, I could find that letter around there somewhere and tear it up. I know I could. I'd recognize that letter anywhere. It was a great big fat one because we had so much money in it.
Yeah, you just
Might as well make up your mind to this. You've did something wrong, so now you got to take the consequences.
Oh, me. What can I tell Elizabeth and little Pearl?
The worst part about it is that after you get arrested, you won't be able to help me none.
Help you?
I know. Nobody'll believe any of your testifying at my hearing, 'cause they'll know you're a criminal, too.
Yeah. Well, have they told you when your hearing's going to be yet?
Yeah, Mr. Adams called me over to the place this morning. He said it was set for day after tomorrow.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
That don't give me much time to get no case worked up, neither. Squires went into the county seat to talk to a lawyer friend of his. He's going to try to get him to take my case for me.
Well, now, if he's a friend of Squire's, Lum, I wouldn't put too much confidence in him.
Well, he's a good lawyer. At least Squire says he is.
Well, in the first place, I don't see why you need a lawyer no way, Lum. You ain't actually did nothing that's wrong. It was me and Cedric that was using the counterfeit money.
I know that, but they think I'm the head of the whole outfit. Mr. Adams come in there and seen me working the printing press and just allowed I was making all the money myself.
Yeah.
Public enemy. An arch criminal.
Yeah, well, you ain't the head of it, old Lum. Diogenes Smith is. Why don't you tell him that?
I've told Mr. Adams about Diogenes till I'm black and blue in the face. But he won't believe a word of it.
Well?
Just keeps acting like he thinks I'm touched.
Touched?
Yeah, he says Diogenes had been dead for a couple of thousand years.
Ah.
Well, you see, he thinks I'm talking about the old Diogenes that lived a long time ago.
Oh.
He won't believe there's a new Diogenes that carries a lantern and looks for an honest man like the old one done.
Well, Diogenes ought to be coming back pretty soon, then Mr. Adams can just see for himself.
Diogenes ain't coming back.
Huh?
Can't you understand that, Abner? He never went to get more supplies for his printing press. He just had to leave town because he knowed the police was getting suspicious.
How do you know that?
Well, he didn't actually know it. He just thought they was. You recollect he left town right after I told him that I'd been talking to a detective over at Hot Springs when I taken them pamphlets over there for him.
Yeah, I know that.
Well, he figured the detective was getting suspicious. And more than likely, he head for Pine Ridge to find out what was going on over here.
Oh.
And you recollect, too, how Diogenes told me to tell everybody that I was in full charge here?
Yeah.
Well, that's so I'd get the full blame instead of him.
Why, that snake in the weeds.
And then when Cedric sent in that first bunch of counterfeit money to the mail order house, the police started right out looking for him. That was why Mr. Adams come to Pine Ridge.
Yeah, I know why he come here.
Of course, they already had something else on Cedric, too.
Something else?
Yeah, the police had the license number of a car that they had suspicioned had delivered some counterfeit money over in Oklahoma someplace. And when they checked up, the license number belonged to Cedric.
To Cedric? All right, doggies, wait a minute, Lum. Then that time when Cedric's license plates was gone, why, it weren't no youngin's prank after all like we thought it was.
Of course not. Diogenes had more than likely stole them license plates himself just to throw the police off.
Why, that horse thief.
Taking them off of Cedric's car and put them on whosever car it was that come through here.
Yeah.
I wish now we'd have listened to Mousy that time he was trying to tell us that he seen that car late at night with Arkansas plates on it and one time and with Illinois plates on it the next time.
Yeah, we ought to listen. He tried to tell us, tried his best.
I reckon we ought to apologize to Mousy.
Yeah, ought to.
Where is Mousy today?
I don't know. He come in early this morning, left some kind of a paper here for you, and then went right out again. I didn't get a chance to talk to him much.
Left a paper for me?
Yeah.
What kind of a paper?
I don't know. I never paid no attention. Just said it was for you. Got something wrote on it, he said.
Well, for goodness sakes, give it to me. Maybe it's something important. Whereabouts is it at?
Well, right there on the counter, that there, folded up. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, me, what am I going to tell Elizabeth when I get arrested?
Imagine what Mousy'd be writing.
Oh,
maybe you discovered some new evidence on something.
Why did I ever send that blame order in? I never needed any of them tennis rackets or saxophones. I ordered bought defense bonds with the money. That's what I did.
That'd have been a fine howdy-do. Take counterfeit money and buy defense bonds with them.
Huh?
You would have been in trouble sure enough then.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That ain't being very patriotic.
Yeah, let them send the saxophone. I'll take that. That's better. Yeah.
To whom it may concern, be it known that I, Llewellyn Snavely Gray...
Huh?
That's Mousy's real name.
Oh, yeah, I never recognized him.
Be it known that I, Llewellyn Snavely Gray, am hereby resigning my position as clerk and delivery boy of the Jot'em Down store.
Resigning?
Yeah. I regret having to do this because you, Lum, have been just like a mother to me.
Well,
But now that you have been arrested and are a criminal in the eyes of the law, I am forced to quit. I do not feel that it is fair to my wife, Gussie, to have to say to the world that an associate of mine is in the penitentiary.
well, I do know.
I think you are being wrongly accused, but I must stand by Gussie.
Gussie.
Signed, Llewellyn Snavely Gray. Aye, Granny's Abner, that's the last straw.
Yeah. Who we gonna get to make the delivers now?
Delivers? I ain't worried about them.
Well, we can't get Cedric, Lum, 'cause his papa ain't bailed him out of jail yet. He says he wants to learn him a lesson.
Listen, Abner, there ain't gonna be no delivers for nobody to make pretty soon. What I mean is that when all our friends start turning against us, that's the last straw.
Well, if...
Don't even want to be associated with us no more. Criminals in the eyes of the law, that's what we are.
Oh, my poor Elizabeth. Poor little Pearl, Poppy in the penitentiary. Oh, me.
Here we've been respected citizens of this community all these years, and now we've come to the end with blackened characters. Spots on our scutcheons,
Oh, yeah, we've got...
whatever that is.
Huh?
I don't know what it is myself.
Well, where did you learn that word,
I
Lum?
don't know, I've heard that expression.
Well, I never did before. I'll recollect that. Spots on my escutcheons.
What did we ever do to deserve all this?
Well, look, find out about that. Huh?
Mousy quitting, friends turning against us, and Cedric in jail, me under arrest for a crime I never done.
Oh, my.
The shadow of the penitentiary bar staring me in the face.
And me gonna get arrested any minute.
Yeah, the long arm of the law reaching out for my partner.
Long arm.
Yeah, that means there'll be nobody to help me.
Oh.
Nobody to carry on the store. Nobody to do nothing.
Why did I ever order that consarn stuff? What am I going to tell my woman? Poor little Pearl.
Howdy.
Oh, howdy, Grandpa.
Yeah, howdy, Grandpap.
Wonderful world. Wonderful. I reckon that ain't the thing to say no more.
Well, go ahead and say it. Wonderful world. Everything's wonderful. Couldn't be better.
Well,
I'm proud to hear that. I never knowed whether you're still in jail or out on a bail by now, Lum. When they gonna hold a hearing for you? Grandpapa, I'd just rather not discuss that.
Don't discuss nothing, Grandpap.
Well, I hope I ain't said nothing wrong. No, you never said nothing wrong. I just don't like to talk about it.
No.
Well, I just drafted in to leave your mail for you. Don't you fellers ever go to the post office and pick up your mail no more?
Well, we ain't had time today, Grandpap.
Ain't no mail we're interested in, no.
No, don't want to hear from nobody.
Well, I thought Abner'd be interested in this letter from the mail order house.
Mail order house? Oh,
yeah, I knowed you ordered a lot of stuff from them.
Doggett, there it is, Lum. There it is. They're arresting me by mail.
Wait a minute, though. Let me look at this again here. This ain't from the mail order house. It's addressed to them.
To them?
Yeah, it says, returned. Insufficient postage.
Well, I'll be dead blamed.
Well, our guess is that our Pine Ridge friends won't forget that experience for a while. And folks, here's something you won't want to forget either. The comfort Alka-Seltzer can bring when you take it for relief in cold distress. Of course, you should get more rest than usual, watch your diet, dress wisely, and take Alka-Seltzer according to the easy directions on the package. Then you'll see what we mean by real relief. You'll find out how Alka-Seltzer eases that dull, ache-all-over feeling of a cold. Helps you feel better in a hurry. And say, don't forget that Alka-Seltzer makes a mighty comforting, soothing gargle for that sore throat, which so frequently accompanies a cold. In fact, once you take Alka-Seltzer for comforting relief in cold distress, we believe it'll be a favorite of yours from then on. So try it, won't you, whenever a cold strikes? If you haven't a package of Alka-Seltzer tablets in your home at the time, get one quickly from any druggist.
Good thing he didn't put an up postage on it. March 23rd, 1942, 82 years ago, Lum and Abner. Tomorrow we'll have the Royal Gelatin Hour, starring Rudy Bally with his guest Bob Hope. The Lux Radio Theater, Remember the Night, starring Fred McMurray and Barbara Stanwyck, and the soap opera Claudia. That's on our next Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox podcast. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Have yourself a great day, won't you please?